We're going to go ahead and get started talking about the feet. We're going to cover a lot of various topics. Feel free to go ahead and ask questions throughout. I like to keep everything nice and open and answer your questions. If you need to afterwards ask me questions or email me, feel free. I love to take your questions and make sure I'm addressing what you need to be addressed. So a lot of you are having some foot pain. This is very, very common, right? I mean, this is a huge problem in today's society is foot pain. And who knows really what the causes are? There's so many things that we can talk about. We've got shoes that are the problem. We're walking on concrete. We have injuries that occur. We have movement patterns that we've picked up over through time. So we pick up from our parents when we start to walk. It's very common for people who have foot pain that their parents had foot pain or bunions or these things. Now their kids end up having it. And a lot of it is because that's how we learn to move, is through how our parents move. So we pick up these habits and we end up a lot of times with the same pain. So as we are working with the feet, we need to start looking at the structures of our feet. So if any of you feel comfortable, I'm going to have you take off your shoes so that you can get dirty with me here, in a sense. So I'll let you get comfortable. But before we start analyzing it, I want to talk about why it's so important that we're working the feet, we're looking at the feet, we're understanding how important the feet are to the body. Physically, the feet is the foundation to the house. The feet are the foundation to our body, right? If we have a house that's got the foundation and you get a crack, everything up the chain can be having problems. Cracks happen through the system. So when the feet start to go, it is not uncommon to have knee problems, hip problems, back problems, neck problems, and even shoulder problems. And that all can resonate from the feet. So physically, the feet cause a lot of problems if they start to get cracks in them. Mentally, what does this do to us if we have these cracks in our feet? Well, mentally, we don't feel as grounded. We start to lose our balance, right? And that starts to make us feel a little uncomfortable. So emotionally, now we don't feel as centered. We don't feel as stable. We start to have fear in movement, or we stop moving, right? So what's really important? We get our foundation back so we can start living life again. So we can have a full life and not be restricted in what we're doing. That's where I really have a passion. So a lot of what I'm going to show you is coming from a place of wanting to get you back moving, get you out of pain, and get you feeling better about yourself. So if we look at the feet, we're all going to have various feet. All of us have different structures, and there's no right or wrong. So you're going to hear a lot of people talk about fallen arches or high arches. Let me tell you. That concept you need to throw out the window. There is no such thing as high arches or fallen arches. All there is what is your arch. Where is supposed to be the most natural place of your arch? And for some people, that is going to be a little bit higher. For other people, that's going to be flatter. So our goal is not to give you a certain shape of a foot, but it is to find your best foot. And that's where these exercises are going to come in. So what are some problems that start to come up when our feet are going for us, when we're not having our most natural foot? Plantar fasciitis, the Achilles tendon problems. People start to just get achy feet, arthritic feelings. We also get bunions. We get calluses, corns. All of these things are representative of what happens when the feet kind of start to go bad. So if we look at a bunion, what really occurs with a bunion is when we're putting pressure unevenly in our feet. I'm going to try and get up here for you guys to see me maybe a little bit better. When we put unevenly into our feet and we put uneven pressure, what happens is the foot starts to roll in like this. The toes then start to press out like so. This is a reaction. The body is always going to react to pull you back into balance because the body always wants to be back in balance. So if I go to shift my hip out, notice how my upper body shifts back towards the other side. This is so I don't fall over. if I shifted everything over this way, I'm going to fall over. The body's really smart. It's freaking cool on how it will readjust to make things happen. Now, when that readjustment happens, though, that's not necessarily good for the body. Over time, it's going to start to cause pain. And this starts when you're a kid. So any of the problems you're having now may have started when you were young. The problem is over 30, 40, some years, it's now gotten how far out of whack. So first thing you have to know, you can't go from here and go back to here. We have to go really slow all the way back. Now that doesn't mean you can't start making changes fast. It just means you have to work within its range and not try to force it too fast, because if you do that, that's just going to cause as much pain. And we'll talk a little bit about the shoes and how you can prepare yourself as you move into these other ways so that you don't shift yourself to the other extreme, because we don't want to go to the other extreme, not one to the next. It's these slow kind of processes. So the body reacts whenever we place pressure in imbalanced ways. So if you stand up and we take a look at our feet, there are going to be a couple things that might happen for those of you as you stand up here. Some of you might have what a lot of doctors are going to tell you is falling arches. They're not falling arches. But what happens is this pronation happens. Pronation is just a fancy word for rolled in. Just that's all it is. So when you're rolling in, what that does, and I'm going to do an exaggerated here so that you can take a look at your feet. Just know mine's exaggerated. If you notice here, I'm now balanced. If I go to roll in and I go to do this pronation, see what happens to my knees? See what starts happening to my toes? And if you can't, feel free to walk around here a little bit. I'm going to try and do as much as I can to show you. My toes are now starting to come out. My knees are coming in. This is going to put a lot of pressure. Now, this happens over time, so remember, you're probably not here yet, but you might slightly be there. You're already causing these shifts to occur. What that also does is that weakens the ankle. So for those of you that were talking to me about the ankle problem, if you're rolling in like this, what is happening is not necessarily that your arch is flattening, the entire inner line of your body is falling downward. That's putting a lot of pressure into that area, which is going to possibly result in knee problems, hip problems, back problems. So that's one thing that tends to happen for people. Another way is people tend to go and roll out like this. So you want to look and see if you're one of these people. Again, this is exaggerated. And now if you see this, now my knees go way out. My toes are clinging down to the floor to try and hold me up because it doesn't want me to fall over. And as I'm doing that, now it makes the bottom of my foot really tight. High arches. Those people that have really tight high arches, this is you. Those of you that are having that inner kind of weakness, the pressure is coming inward, or you're feeling the pain in probably the first 2 toes over in this area, you're a pronator. This is a supinator. Fancy word for rolled out. That's all. Medical terms. Easier if you just say rolled in, rolled out. So either way, this is affecting the rest of the structure. So if you are that rolled in person, the ankle is falling, so now you've got this weakened stability in the ankle, the knee is being pulled down, you're being overstretched on the outside here. The body is then going to readjust for this in multiple ways to try and keep you balanced and cause other tightnesses and other pulls. If you're this person who rolls out, now it's in here that we're getting this really tightness in the bottom of the foot. The knees are pressing outward, so you're getting that bow-legged type of look. So you're getting all of these kind of imbalances in the muscles. Does that make sense? Yeah, right in there. So if we look at our feet, look and see if you're finding that you're falling down, that ankle's falling downward, or what people like to call fallen arches, which technically it's not necessarily fallen arches, or if you're that supinator. This is the first place you have to start. You have to know what your foot is doing. If you don't know what your foot is doing, you don't know how to correct it. So if you feel comfortable with that, you can go ahead and have a seat now. You can also ask me after class, and I will analyze your foot with you and let you know what exactly you're doing and where your pressure points are that's happening. So analysis and awareness is always key. I always say this. You need to become aware before you can make changes. If you do not know what you are doing initially, you cannot make the changes. This is where kind of mindfulness starts to come in. We're going to get reconnected to our feet. We're going to rebuild the pathways from our brain down to the feet and have just as much control of our feet as we do anything else in our body. And as we get that control, we're going to get more grounded. We're going to find our feet responding better to us, and we're going to feel more comfortable on them. So there's going to be a whole lot of things that will come along with that. Now there's a gentleman called Dr. Morton, and he wrote a book in the 1920s, and he kind of had this radical idea about the foot, which he is kind of considered the founder of podiatry. However, a lot of his kind of theories never carried through for some reason. So the way he looked at placement of the foot. When you are looking at the pressure on the foot, a lot of people will tell you four corners. Well, the four corners is not where you need to think of pressure on the foot. Where you need to think about pressure on the foot when you're standing is you have to think about it as almost a V. And the V pressure points are going to be right through the center of your big toe into the center of your heel, right through the center of your baby toe, right into the center of your heel. And then if you drew a line straight through the middle of that V, those are your kind of 3 points. Does that make sense? So if I'm a supinator, I'm this rolled out person, I need to get that big toe back down. And as I get that big toe back down, I'm going to find the bottom of my feet spread out more. Now that's going to build that flexibility back into the bottom of that foot. If I'm that rolled in person, I have to find that pressure kind of rolling towards the outside so that that lifts my ankle, and then I'll find that it almost lifts my entire body upward. Because it's being pulled down, it'll lift me up. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, just want to make sure. So when you're standing, the first thing you can start doing to start easing your foot problems is to practice your standing. Now this one, you can do in the grocery line. You can do this when you're, waiting anywhere, waiting for somebody. Just practice your standing. Now let me show you a couple things that also happens, because a lot of us tend to either be in our heels or in our toes. So then we don't have even pressure forward to back. And if we are one of those people that puts into the back, what the body is going to do to shift is I'm going to push my hips forward. You're going to get this kind of look. Does this look familiar to some people? Exaggerated, very exaggerated. My chiropractor's like, I've seen that a million times, right? Yeah. This is what starts to happen. The weight's back in the heels, and then everything's got to push forward. So not only do we have to worry about this whole thing going on, now we got to worry about this whole thing going on. Second thing then, right, some people are way forward here. Whew, if I'm way forward, my body's got to do this. Now I got to readjust so that I can stay upright, and I'm putting all my pressure forward, and it's pressing me forward now. So when we're thinking about those 3 points, yes, we've got to be balanced that way. Now we got to be balanced front to back. So when we're going to be balanced front to back, as we do that, so if I'm this person and I'm supinating out, let's say, as soon as I start to pull this back up and I get even, I'm going to find my pressure pushing and getting me grounded, and then I'm going to lift right on up through my spine. And that's not me doing any effort. A lot of people are going to be like, this is how I get my posture. I squeeze my shoulders back and I puff my chest out and that makes me taller. No, if you just correct these little things, it'll naturally pull you right on up. And you don't even have to worry about shifting your spine in all these other ways that they tell you to get your posture. Make sense? Okay. Anybody got questions thus far? Just want to make sure you're all with me. Let me know if you're not. So, as we find our balance when we're standing, we find those points that I mentioned, the V points, and then we just find that front to back place. And that's your first thing. Start practicing your standing. You're probably not going to be able to do this for long periods of time. This is going to be like a hold it for a minute, let the body go, try it again later. As you start to get more strength and find that foot supporting you and the body structure holding you again, then you'll find that you'll be able to hold it longer. But it will temporarily fatigue you, but in the long run it will help you get more endurance and stamina. Why is this? Because when we're doing these things that are out of balance, the pronation, all of these things, we fatigue the muscles. So your endurance goes down, your stamina goes down. So for my athletes, if you've got problems with your feet, this is going to make you a lot tired, like a lot more tired during the day. Those of you that stand on your feet a lot, it's going to make you tired a lot faster during the day. If you fix these problems, the fatiguing stops happening because all of the muscles are starting to work together. So I like to always say it's like getting more to join the party. You don't want less to join the party, you want more joining the party, right? Instead of 1 or 2 muscles doing all the work, you want 50 muscles doing the work. Think about how much stronger you are. Think about how much more active you can be that way and how much more endurance and stamina you'll have. So as you're finding this balance and you get this place, understand initially you're not going to be able to hold it long because the muscles just don't know how to hold it. It's going to be like a workout for them. So it's going to get fatigued and they're going to like, okay, I need to go back. And then you work them again. And as you continue to work them, you'll be able to hold them for longer and longer periods of time. And you'll start to find that as you're standing, you'll have less pain as you stand. You'll have that achiness start to go away and you'll be able to hold a little bit longer. So standing is your first place that you can start practicing, and you can do it anywhere. Second thing we can talk about is your walking. I do not recommend doing this in public at first. Because if you have ever tried to change your walk, it does not look natural. Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you to change your walk, and you're going to start walking like this. And I don't think you want to be doing that out in public in front of people, right? It could be awkward. Huh?
I did it a half mile today. No, seriously.
Did it a half mile today,
When
yeah.
you try to change it, it's so odd because you're trying to think about putting your, instead of plotting or jumping or whatever you do, like think about laying your feet down. It's not natural. For me.
It's not natural, and almost 99% of the people when I start changing their walk, it does not look natural, because when you start thinking about something you've done so long on the subconscious level, it's like your body just goes, I don't know what they're doing, and it looks very awkward and it looks funny. So do it in the privacy of your own home until you get comfortable with it and can figure it out. So when you're walking, there's a couple things we have going on here. Naturally, because of our shoes cause a lot of problems. And so naturally when we start to walk, the shoes have kind of been built to make us not walk naturally. So our bodies have now been trained to not walk naturally, literally. And shoes are a big, big, big problem and a big reason for this. So shoes in athletics only really started coming around, or like the soled shoes really started coming around in the 1970s. This is right about when Nike kind of came together. They started putting a thicker sole for athletes. Before that, most athletes wore very, very thin soled shoes and did more barefoot type stuff. So it's only really in the last 30-some years that the shoes have, in athletics, have really gotten bulky. And then they put all these different things in it. So what they had to do is, when they started putting these cushionings in and raising the heel, which, as you see, the heel is raised, which is unnatural to the body. So as the heel became raised, then they had to put all these supports into the arch here to counterbalance so it didn't throw you off and throw you forward. So you have all these shoes out there, right? Arch supports, or these other shoes that start talking about like these air cushions and everything else, and they've gotten really bulky and they've gotten really big. They're the most unnatural to the body, and they don't actually give you contact or allow your feet to be that spring that they're supposed to be. Feet are shock absorbers to the body. When this is doing all the shock absorbency for you and creating an unnatural, many times it causes more shocks through the body. And I'm going to explain why here. So we're going to look at a couple things. Heel is raised. So this naturally causes you to have to strike fairly hard into the heel. When you strike fairly hard into the heel, and this can go for runners, when you strike super hard into the heel like this, see how flexed my ankle is? I have now just took a lot of energy and a lot of force and put it right into the body. So now all this force comes up through the body. Now naturally when we walk, there is a little bit of a heel strike. There's a softness to it, hopefully a softness, although some of us don't. We walk We all got our different walks. We'll talk about it. But that big strike right there is putting a lot of force, and the ankle's not moving. That's because the shoe has naturally been made to make that happen to you. That raised heel causes that kind of action. And all that cushioning was put in there to try and not make your body have shock. Is to be a shock absorber. In reality, what it does is it does the opposite. So that heel has been raised. Second thing we can look at here. See how the toe goes up? I don't know, do anybody have toes that do this? Do your toes look like that? No, they want to touch the ground, right? This is part of reality. The feet want to touch the ground. Those toes are meant to do something. They're not just supposed to be up in the air, hanging out, doing little things, waving to people. No, the toes are meant to be on the floor. They're meant to ground you. So the shoes naturally create this action, this rolling action, which our feet should roll, except what it's doing is making it an unnatural rolling action. Because it makes it that really hard heel strike, and then what happens is, for most of us, because of this raised toe, we don't roll through our toes. So we actually end up not using any of our toe. So we keep our ankle really hard, and we don't roll. Now, this is a pretty stiff walk, right? Again, everything I do is exaggerated. This is not what you look like. You look some version of this, but not like this. So this is how most people walk. And then if I've got my front forward people, see how hard that is on the body? There's not a naturalness to it. Now you might not look like this yet, but there's probably some version of this stiffness that has happened to your walk. Last thing, see these soles? There is no bend in these babies. How much of your soles, look at that. That thing ain't going anywhere, and I'm a pretty strong girl. Oh, wait, I might get it. There is like no bend into these soles. So you don't have that ability for your foot to maneuver in the way that it should, or to spread and open in the way that it should, to have that contact, that groundedness. So I have some shoes here that I like. And the reason why I like them is, although this has a little bit of the toe, it's not as much. And notice the heel's not as high. You want the lower heel. That helps a lot. And try this to avoid any of the shoes that have a really high toe. But see how much give these things have? Why I like them is because they have a lot of give. They're very natural. I can feel the ground underneath me. So they're very nice to have those type of shoes. In a moment, I'm going to talk about the minimalist shoes, which I'm a big proponent of. But I want to talk about the walk. I wanted to show you one of those soles that are hard and then a sole that's a little bit less hard. So when we walk, as we're moving through, we need to consider our points. This is where it gets a little tricky because now we got to take all that thing we learned from standing and bring it over to our walk. So remember those points of contact, right? So when we walk, we have to make sure we keep those points of contact. And what we're going to notice is for those of us that have that rolling out, we're going to wear on the outside of our feet because we walk on the outside of our feet. Those of us that have that pronation, we're going to find that right in the front of the big toe, you're going to have some wear going on in there. So now we got to find that balance again. And so you can look at your shoes and look at the wear pattern. It's going to tell you when you walk, what do you like to do? Are you going out? Are you going in? So the first thing you got to do in your walk is get that balance. Get that place that when you walk, you've got the points, the V points, right? That's the first place. Second place is loosen up your ankles. Let them go. Let those ankles be free. They want to be free. You want to find your ankles soft. Absorb it. Springy. So when you walk, you want to make sure you're really moving through the foot. You want to be a little bit more even in the distribution of when you're walking. So if you notice, I'm not doing a big hard heel. It's not a big hard heel strike. It's a gentler, more center of the foot. This goes for running too. If you're a heel runner and you're striking like this, that can be really hard on the body. You want a little bit more forefront or center. And this is all about what the minimalist shoes and the barefoot runners are talking about. It's this forefront heel, the forefront versus the heel strike. Now, you can't make this change instantly, right? Make sure you work into this, because if you go right to the extreme, you're going to cause just as much problems, just in the opposite way. You got to work slowly. Start with your standing, start with your walking, start changing the structure of your body. Then as that starts to happen, you can change these other patterns, the running, the things like this. Naturally though, it'll start to happen on its own. So when we're walking, we loosen up the ankle. We want to make sure we're pushing through that toe. That toe propels you forward. If we don't push through that toe is not doing anything. It's not working. And when things are not working, it's fatiguing the body, right? We already talked about it. We want more join in the party, not less. It's fatiguing the body, but it's also then making that not work, which means now the body has to restructure for that not working. So make sure you're rolling through that toe. What that'll do is, for those of you that some people don't take strides forward, they take strides outward like this. It's going to propel you forward, which means you're going to get there faster. And you can walk slower, it's okay. It's still going to get you there faster. Now if you look at my walk here, it's a little bit more natural. Do you see how loose it is? See how grounded I am onto the floor? As opposed to if I'm a big heel striker. Can you see that difference? Is that making sense? I'm big heel strike here. My knees don't really move because my knees can't move because the heel's doing all this work, as opposed to this. It also has a different energetic quality. You see that? It's like a calmer, like not in your face kind of walk. It's calmer, it's gentler, it's easier. Some people might even say meditational walk, right? That Zen walk. So as you're doing this, you want to find where you're pushing off that toe. You want to find the evenness and the balance of the foot, and try and be less on the heel, a little bit more even. This then distributes through the body that force and allows the feet to do what it's supposed to do. If you keep all that force, you're not allowing the body to do what it's supposed to do. The feet are supposed to be shock absorbers. Let them do its job.
Yeah, I seem to have a tendency going on the balls of my feet and to shock absorber type thing.
The balls of the feet, you do see some walkers that are like that. They stress the balls of the feet more. You probably want to pull your weight back a little bit. And the reason why is if you're a high, it's a good question. Some people are high toe walkers, and they're not putting it so much on the ball of the foot, and they're putting a little bit more pressure into the toe joint and the ball of the foot. So if you're in the forefront, just make sure it's not overdone. Does that make sense?
I'm just trying to think in the past what I've done to interject things in because actually I think you just use the way it's meant to be.
Yes, the foot's meant to have that kind of action to it. You will see some people though that'll be really high kind of walkers like this. So when they walk like this. They look like they're floating around. They do. I've seen them. And they're really high on the foot. They have to be lower on the foot. Shoes can do that, yeah. I mean, shoes will force your foot into those positions, without a doubt. They force them into unnatural positions of where it's supposed to be. Does that?
Well, into the shoes, one of the best shoes that I got here was I go camping and wanted to have some sort of stand or taking the showers and they have one of these TV type things that just throw the whole shoe, the whole foot. It's just, I'm in love with it.
Well, yep.
Black, European, whatever it is.
And if you're loving them, what I'm going to say, stay with it. If you're loving them and they make your feet feel comfortable, then that's a great thing. But a lot of that high toe walking, it's that heel thing that's causing that lift, right? So again, it also is the size of the heel that could be causing that. And you should. You know, there's nothing wrong with wearing the shoes if they're comfortable. A lot of shoes though aren't as comfortable for people because of these various things that have been unnatural. And this is why I would not take you out of your shoe and jump you to these minimalists. You need to work your way into them as your foot restructures. This goes for like orthotics. You know, one of the biggest things people are given these days are orthotics or arch supports. The problem with those is that they start doing the action of your foot. And if they are not proper for your foot, which they can be because, again, we all have different feet, they're going to cause more pain. So the best way I can say this is, if I cast my foot, if I broke my foot and I put a cast on it, my bones are going to heal because it's going to set the bones, right? But what's going to happen to the muscles around it? They're going to atrophy, right? Now the muscles aren't doing their job. They're not doing what they're supposed to. So orthotics, when those start doing the work, your feet are no longer doing the work. Something else is doing it for you. So this can end up causing more problems. And I tend to get a lot of people who are in orthotics that are not out of pain, or they're in worse pain, or they're not feeling that they're doing much for them. Or what?
Different pain.
Or different pain. Or different pain shifts it from one to another. If people are getting pain relief from orthotics, though, my first thing I'm going to say is don't leave the orthotics. Work your way out of them. You can't go from this to that. If they're doing something for you, don't jump over here. Work your way out of them, though. Let your feet start getting more natural to them. So the minimalist shoes, which have become really popular these days, I'm a big fan of. And I'm a big fan of them because of the things we talked about. We notice we're not really getting that raised heel problem. A lot of people sometimes don't like those toes. They don't think that they look, you know. She back there has them. She sports them. She rocks them out. They're very good for you. They're very good. These minimalist shoes are very good. They do mimic being barefoot. They're not like toe socks. I will tell you that. A lot of people are like, toe socks, I don't like anything in between my toes. That's a pretty common thing. These do not feel like toe socks. They don't jam into the joint like toe socks do. So they are quite comfortable. It might take you some time to figure out how to get your toes in there, especially if you got toes that are kind of curling in together. But what is nice about these is that they start mimicking barefoot, which means your feet start to get back to their natural state. They start working the way they should. The first thing I noticed when I bought these Vibrams, I noticed my ankle started moving again. And that was a very weird concept to me. And I was like, whoa, who knew that the ankle moved? And I've carried it over to regular shoes because now I'm very conscious of it, but it was the first thing I noticed. Now, when I suggest the Vibrams to people, and even I'm going to talk about the Merrells in a second, what I suggest is that when you wear these, you don't go and wear these all day long, initially. Work your way into them. Start by wearing them maybe an hour a day, and then 2 hours, and then 3 hours. I'm a Pilates instructor. I do all this footwork. I'm like, I'm going to totally rock these Vibrams out. The guy forewarned me. Be careful. Oh no, I can wear them all day long. I have never been so sore in my calves or my shins. I could not believe how crazy that was. And I thought that my feet were pretty balanced. I really learned a big lesson that they weren't. Now, luckily, my body already was shifting through the Pilates that I'm doing. But if you're making a jump, start slow, an hour a day. Now, if you have a problem because you don't want to be in the toe shoes, I find these to be really great shoes for like gardeners or around the house, because it gives you the protection you need, but what it does is it allows you to get that toe bend, like if you're down gardening and doing stuff. It doesn't put your foot in an unnatural place, it puts it in the most natural place. So these are great for around the house, gardening, these kind of things, if you don't want to go out in public.
Now, how is that, wearing that different than just walking around your house barefoot?
Barefoot would be just as well. But for people who might be going outside, they don't like rocks. Some people don't like being barefoot. There are people out there that are very sensitive bottoms of the feet because they haven't really exposed their feet. If you're very sensitive, you usually wear shoes all the time. Wear these instead. But good question. Yeah, if you can go around barefoot, that's the best thing. I try to be barefoot as much as I possibly can.
I got a pair of those kind of because the feet tend to begin a little bit of a cross.
And so for me, it's kind of like getting that little space helps me to go barefoot better. That's why I did that.
No, it does. And it's because it starts mimicking back to the natural place of where your foot's supposed to be. You know, if you don't want to, you know, again, a way you can do that same thing with the toes is you can take your fingers and put it right through. Now, for some of us, you might work your way into that. That might be a little sore to do that, to put each of your fingers through. And then you just hold that for like 5 minutes. And that will kind of spread the toes out a little bit more.
Do you think having more padded shoes and less impact allows you to correct your gait more? Because it seems like, wow, it really hurts to walk barefoot. And then when you're barefoot, you're more real careful, you have less pain. So I'm wondering if, like you said, the impact and such is masked by the shoes. Does that, you think, it encourages bad behavior because it doesn't hurt so much?
Yeah.
Or you don't notice it as much?
There's a lot of research coming out. With all of the minimalist shoes coming out now, they're doing a lot of research on it. They're finding that the more cushioning is actually causing more pain in the body because of the way of the unnaturalness, which is why the more minimalist ones end up being better for the body and having less pain. But the big thing that they always say is you can't go and jump from this to this. It's got to be a slow thing.
Because if, you know, when you notice you're like doing this all the time, when you don't have shoes on, you're like, wow, that hurts. But what's a good transition?
You know what? I suggest like an hour a day for about a week or two, and then go up to 2 hours a day, and just work your way up that way. You know what? You'll know, because if they're hurting like after 30 minutes, take them off and put your shoes on. Like, don't, you know, overdo it. You know, you'll know. But working your way, the best way to do it is like start with an hour, work your way up then to 2 hours to 3 hours, and at some point then you're just going to know it's okay to wear these more often or for longer distances or for longer periods of time. Did that answer your question? Yeah? Okay. If not, please let me know. I can talk out forever, really. I don't have a problem with that ever. So Merrell's here now have a similar shoe. These are for the people who don't like, you know, who are afraid to go out with the toes. You know, this is not your thing. You're not the showy person. I'm the showy person, so I don't mind showing my toes off. I like the attention I get, but some people don't like that and they think they look weird. Merrell has now made a shoe that you can wear that is the same way. There are also Nike Frees. These came out several years ago. They're more of a minimalist type shoe as well. So these minimalist type shoes, again, we've got a little bit thinner of a sole. This one's thicker than the Vibrams. So this is nice for people who like to do a little bit more hiking type stuff. It's a thicker sole than the Vibrams. The Merrells are. But we still have this minimalist. We don't really have that much of a heel on it, and it doesn't really have that toe thing going on as the other shoes are, and they're going to have more give in them. This one right now has something in it, so I can't show you how it gives the give, but it has more give. It's a little bit more forgiving as you move. So Merrell would be a nice substitute. Again, I would work my way into these. You can't take it from here to here. Start by with just 1 hour a day, then to 2 hours, and work your way up. You know, and that goes for like walking. You know, walk for a certain period of time, then up to a mile, maybe a little longer, depending on those of you how far you walk or what you do distance-wise.
I'm more of a hiker myself, so you suggest Merrell would probably be better.
The Merrell would probably be better if you're going on where there's a little bit more rocky type stuff because the sole's a little bit thicker.
The thing is, when it's hiking more mainstream in the mountainous areas, we always talk about arch support and things like that. And these have none.
These don't have any. If you're going, you know, really mountainous type,
Carrying a backpack.
you might want something that has a little bit stiffer ankle. But what's nice about when you have these Merrells and the Vibrams is that it allows your foot to readjust on them. And naturally, your feet, your ankles are supposed to readjust and not lock up.
Some show, I don't know, it's these two guys that go out into the wilderness trying to survive. One guy is a naturalist, doesn't wear any shoes at all. And the other guy, this is on Discovery Channel, the other guy is more of a mountaineer guy or from the services. He's more doing this and whatever, and they both survive.
Yeah, either way. I mean, you can. The thing about your ankles have to be strong if you're going to do something of that. And that's, again, working your way into them and getting the strength in your ankle. Because naturally, your ankle is supposed to kind of give. You know, if you really get a truly flexible and strong ankle, you can roll out and not sprain it. Because the body readjusts. That's, you know, these joints are meant to kind of do these kind of things. They have this absorbency and this movement to them. When we lock them up, they don't get that movement, which means you have more chance of twisting them, causing problems, spraining them, all of these things. Since I've been working with people, or since I've been working, you know, myself in fixing my feet, I don't roll my foot out. If I do roll it out, my body responds back and catches me without sprains or inflammations or things like this. The people I work with have the same results. Their feet they don't find as much foot pain, they're not rolling out as much, their body can readjust to the terrains, the different things that happen. When your feet can feel the ground and feel what's going on, the body can readjust to these various things that pop into the way. If our ankles are locked down, right, and on misstep, let's say, off of a rock, my ankle doesn't move, what's going to happen? It's going to have to sprain, it's going to give, and it's going to pull on that, you know, pull in that, thank you.
Will the marrows prevent wearing, kind of like this stuff?
So you're a big heel striker. Yeah. They should, as you work into them, it should start to get you to walk more naturally. Because, okay, sorry. So you don't have the cushion that causes you to do more heel strike. Sorry.
No,
yes, that's
like
the answer.
You notice the impact more or less.
You notice the impact more. This was his question earlier that I missed. So because you notice the impact more, your body won't let you do that because it doesn't want the pain. So because it can feel, it's going to naturally start to go into this walk. So that's what I was saying when I went to the Vibrams. I noticed how much more ankle movement I have. I wasn't so hard on that heel. Your body will naturally start to change because it doesn't want you to strike that hard on them.
Sometimes you're in a situation you have to wear dress shoes.
You can't. You know what? This is where you start becoming aware. That's the reality. Some women really like to wear their high heels, right? You know, we're going to do it. So with us doing that, you just need to be aware and try to change as much as you can and know that you're making a conscious decision to wear those shoes. And that's what I do. Like, I know I'm going to wear these shoes. I'm going to feel it tomorrow. I might work my feet out a little bit. But I do try to walk a little bit more balanced, even in them. Even though I can't get to the exact place because the shoes prevent me, I try as much as possible. I try to get as much ankle and all of these things. Does that answer your question?
What about running? Would you run in those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't recommend concrete running in the Vibrams. I find that that's a little stressful to the body, and unless you have built your body up enough to handle that, you want something with a little bit of a thicker sole, just because it's concrete. I run in them. I can run on the concrete, but my body's a little bit, been trained a little bit more. Trail running, these are great for if you can get on paths. These are good for the running. I would say these are going to be better because of that little bit of a thicker sole. If you find, though, that you're having a lot of stress on the body, find a shoe that maybe then is even a little bit thicker than this, but not too much, not that big high heel on it.
How do you balance like pain versus proper form? Like when I walk normally now, it's painful. I'm not used to it. My feet are, not strengthened, or I don't have the calluses where they need to be, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it has to be uncomfortable. How do you, I naturally avoid my calluses. I naturally avoid the arthritis or whatever. So I end up, like you say, moving my body around it so it doesn't hurt. But there again, then it'll come out in my knee later. How do you try to balance it out until you get some balance?
It's
how
just
do you balance out until you get balance? Yeah.
How do you balance out? You just have to understand that it's a process, and as you continue to keep your mind focused on it, and as you continue to focus, that'll naturally start to go away. The pain will naturally start to go away, and you'll find more balance. You sometimes have to go through the pain a little bit to get out of the pain. So if if you're focusing on all these things we're talking about, that pain will start to alleviate as you do it. Yeah.
Even joint pain.
Even joint pain, it'll start to alleviate. You just got to work through it and work in a healthy kind of way, not in an extreme way.
Does your body, even though mine's not developed properly, right? naturally kind of know the right gait? I mean, when it doesn't hurt?
It does. It
when
naturally
doesn't hurt,
knows.
is that right?
Your body naturally knows where it wants to be. You just have to get a little bit out of what you've learned it or trained it and get it back to the natural place of where it's supposed to be. It'll know. It'll know that this feels more natural.
So
This
right now,
feels better.
pain-free is the good walk, even though it doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have some of those five-fingered vibrams, and I was walking in like dewy grass, and I found that they started rubbing on the lower part of my big toe on the outside, but I wasn't wearing any socks. And his socks, I mean, I thought you could wear them without socks.
You should wear them without socks. Huh? Yeah, you should wear them. They shouldn't. They're fine to wear without socks. Are you talking about on the outside here?
Just right here where your finger is, right?
How long have you had them? Have you broke them in? They do take a little bit of time to break in.
They were rubbing into the skin, so I don't know how long have I been using them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used them now for a long time.
Okay.
I had them for a few weeks.
Okay. They're just like any other shoes, and they do take some time to break in. They will mold around, so there could be some natural breaking in of shoes, right? The natural rubbings and things. Once it starts to really form fit your foot, that should go away. Is it still doing it now?
Well, I haven't used them for a while.
For a while.
So then I came back here and where I got them, they said, well, I should be wearing the toe socks with them.
You shouldn't need to wear the toe socks, but you do find that they kind of, if they're the right size, that would be my first thing. Are they the right size? They will kind of conform to your foot, but it does take a little bit of breaking in for them to kind of conform to your foot. They're just like any other shoes. They take some time to kind of get that place.
So what about those, I don't know, the Skechers or whatever that have been real popular lately about
Hate
losing
those.
weight by, yeah,
I'm gonna be honest right up. I hate those. I really do. They end up overdeveloping the body in the way that they should not be. Number one, they're rounded, so already they're putting your foot in an unnatural kind of position. Number two, they're going to work your legs unnaturally, so they end up overdeveloping the quads and kind of pushing you forward, and they create unbalance. Even though they talk about it that it's the backside, they end up overdeveloping the quads is what really happens, and they do kind of the opposite. So I really do not like them, and MBTs are another brand that came out that were supposed to be, they weren't there for the shaping up, but they were to mimic a tribe, and I can't remember the name of the tribe, which is Messiah or Messiah or something, which is why it's MBT. And those shoes are rockers like that too. They're actually a bigger rocker, and although that naturalness can kind of ease the joints, which was kind of nice, at the same time it unnaturally develops the body and not let it do what it's supposed to do, and it actually throws it more out of whack than in whack. So I'm not a big fan of those. I will say that, I'm sorry if there's a Skechers person around here. I hate those shoes. I prefer these over them. And I do have a pair of Skechers. These are Skechers, but they're not the shape-ups or whatever they call them. All right, so let's move on to some exercises. I can answer more questions afterwards if people want. But let's move on to some exercises. So you got your standing, you got your walking. First, and probably the easiest thing to do, golf ball or a tennis ball. For those of you that have tightness underneath your foot, so if you were to feel your foot, you might feel like a tight cable running through it. My plantar fasciitis people, you might feel a tight cable that runs through the bottom of your foot. So, I mean, if you were to feel your foot and you feel like hard tissue, or like spots that are tight or built up, this is a great thing to do. So you take a tennis ball and you give yourself a foot massage. Really easy. If you have sensitive feet, a golf ball is not what you can use, but if you want to get deeper in there, a golf ball, harder ball, will help. So as you do this, you're going to feel like there's a tight spot. You really work into that tight spot. You put some pressure into it, and you just roll. And you do both sides. So this can help stretch the bottom of your foot, build more flexibility back into it. For those of you that you're feeling a tight cable or have tight feet or high arches, these are the places. Use the tennis ball. This will help. This is a great place to start in getting release in that foot. What that's going to do is it's going to start to spread the foot out. The bones will kind of become a lot more natural. And, you know, those who have that high arch, the arch is going to kind of drop a little bit, which is good because it should be more grounded to the floor as opposed to that big lifted that's kind of occurring.
How long do you start with that for? How long?
2 minutes, you know, whatever feels to work the foot out. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
now we're dying and can't walk for 2 days, so that's fine.
well, sometimes we overdo things, right? No, right? Yeah, no.
Still living.
Little bit, little pieces, little pieces. The stuff I'm telling you to do, literally 5 minutes in a day. I might tell you to do it 2 times a day, 10 minutes in your day. That's all I want. I don't want you doing any more than that because you're going to take it to the extreme and then you're going to go back the other way and then it's this big pendulum. So this, couple minutes, work it out. Feel what it's doing. Second thing we got going on here, towel exercise. Now this towel's not going to really move because of the kind of surface I have. And you don't technically need a towel to do this. You can do this all on your own and you can do it there. So you put your feet on the towel. If you have a slippery surface, the towel will move. And this will tell you where your pull is if you're keeping that kind of V-shaped tension. You lift the toes up. Now the first thing you want to notice when you lift your toes up is this happening or this happening? Unevenness, right? Part of the problem with that big heel strike that's happening is we're losing a lot of flexibility in the ankle. So this will start to bring that flexibility back. For my Achilles people, this can help because if you're very tight in the front here, your Achilles is taking a lot of pressure because it's not having the movement the ankle should have. So you pick this up, but as you pick it up, make sure you're just not pulling back with the toes and doing this. See that? Right? That's what a lot of people are going to want to do because they don't know how to flex the ankle. You want a deep flex in the ankle. So when you do that, you're going to feel a stretch through the shin. You want that stretch. That's also going to strengthen the ankle. You're then going to place the toes down and you're going to pull the towel to you. Now if I had a smooth surface, the towel would pull, right? And I'm going to pull the towel to me. Now when I pull, I want to make sure that I'm pulling evenly. What you'll notice, and this is where you can do this test, if you're pulling like this, you're going to see the towel's coming uneven. When you pull, you want the towel to come straight in. So that can kind of be your test. But otherwise, you can do this like at the dinner table. You can do 1 foot at a time, pulling and reaching, keeping that evenness. So you're still trying to keep that even balance as you do it. And then you reverse it. You tuck the toes under, you press out. Same things, tuck and press out. So you just go in both directions and you just want to notice that the towel's pulling evenly. That's the key. Next one we got here, again, same kind of that lift. We're not just pulling back with the toes. Same kind of lift. We're pulling up, we're pressing out, down, and pulling in. So for those of you that are pronators, that rolling in, this is good because what you're going to start to feel is the inside line here working. This helps strengthen the shins, helps strengthen the calf, and helps strengthen the foot. When we're talking about the foot, it's not just the foot that's the problem. All of these other structures have to be balanced out with the foot. If all you do is address the foot and not address the rest of the leg, again, we're still having those imbalances. So you have to address more than just the foot. You do this the opposite way as well. So if you've done this way, then the opposite is you press out, lift up, pull in. So this is for really working. You want your knees together. Yeah, if you keep your knees together, it's a different feeling completely. Yep, you're going to feel that working in there. It's going to help your ankles. So this is going to be a good ankle strengthener, and this is going to be good for building that flexibility in those areas.
Can you show that again?
You can feel it, and you might cramp. Your feet might cramp when you do some of this. This is like, your feet are going, what are you doing? I don't know how to work that. What are you doing? I'm freaking out. Yeah, yeah.
Show the last one again.
So, yep. This one? So knees. Oh, you drag out, lift up, pull together, and down. Now remember, when you go to pick up, you want to make sure you're not having the feet roll funky. You want them straight on as much as possible. And that's you're going to feel it deeper in the ankle that way and deeper in the shin. And you might even feel it all the way up through the leg. When we're talking about the feet, again, like I said, they're not isolated. They're part of a bigger structure. So you are going to end up working more than just that. You also can just do simple points and flexes. You point the foot, you flex the foot. The key here, though, when you're pointing and flexing the foot, is to not do it with the toes. There's that toe thing again. A lot of us are just going to pull back the toes like this. All you're doing is overstretching the toes. You're not really using that ankle. So what I like to think is, as I pull up, I want to make sure I'm really deeply flexing through the ankle and reaching the heel out. Does that make sense? So you really want that big movement. And then you can circle the ankle. Now when you circle the ankle, you want a full motion. So you want to try and keep the leg, because what most of us are going to do is, I'm moving it. No, keep the leg straight. Just move the ankle. Think about drawing the biggest circle with your biggest toe as you possibly can. Yeah. And for my Achilles ankle, or my Achilles people, this is going to be good for balancing that out. So big circles, okay? Last one I'm going to show you, standing footwork. Standing footwork, we stand up. The key here is to make sure that we're staying that balanced, all the stuff we've talked about. So this is kind of like the creme de la creme here. We take everything we've been talking about and now we put it into an exercise. Full body, yeah. All right, so we're going to bend our knees, keeping our heels on the floor. As we bend down, we're trying to keep all that pressure even. This way we're getting that deep bend in the ankle. You might be feeling your shins in this. You could feel calves. You could feel butte. You're then going to keep this knee bend and pick your feet up. The key here, not rolling in or out on those feet. That's going to be the tricky part. You then stand up and lower down. So this is also going to improve your balance tremendously.
Stabilizer.
Yeah. So as we do this, trying to keep that balance. Now, what I don't want to see from people is this thing, this jam in the ankles. You want to make sure as you pick up, you're keeping control and you're keeping balanced with the bottom of your foot there. Now you reverse this as well. So the reverse of this is we come all the way up, we bend our knees, we lower our heels, and we straighten up. So you lift up, you bend, you lower, and you straighten up. So this is another exercise. This is kind of like the Mac Daddy of those exercises and really can work the feet. You want to keep all of the things you're talking about, keeping the balance, keeping all of that. You can come up here afterwards and take a card. I have a YouTube channel. Has these exercises on there, so you got them on video. You don't have to worry about writing them all down. One other quick thing you can do, this is a simple one, is you can pick your toes up and place one toe down at a time. This is learning control of the feet. What this does is this helps you to get control of those toes, and for those people who have those toes coming in or hammer toes, this is going to help you start working those back out. You do it baby toe first and then down and then try and reverse it, and you're going to see mine doesn't reverse very well. They kind of don't, but it's the thought pattern and it's training those muscles and getting the bottoms of the feet to start working and getting that dexterity back into the feet, you know, almost like their hands. Really building this kind of dexterity. What you're going to find as you start doing these exercises, your body will start to become more natural with the feet. Your shoes are going to get small. You're going to have to buy new shoes, so sorry about that. But as you start getting the feet back to the natural place, they're going to widen out. The bones are going to become a little bit more spread out to where they're supposed to be and more natural. So you're going to have to buy new shoes, a little bit of a wider shoe. I didn't think I could get wider either, and it happened. So it does happen. On these exercises, you know, don't kill yourself on them. Like simplify, simplify, simplify your life. 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, that's it. Pick 1 or 2 exercises. Start off for about 2 weeks doing them every day. 5 to 10 minutes in your day, that's it. Practicing your standing and your walking. After those 2 weeks, if you're starting to feel a little bit stronger in the feet, you're starting to ease some of that pain, move to one time during the day for the next couple weeks. And then after that, every other day, work to when you need them. It can happen that fast. Don't feel like you can jump real quick, but it can happen that fast if you're diligent about it and not overworking it. Simplify. Easy. Simplify. Those are the best exercises I can tell you. They will start to make a difference. You're standing, becoming aware, taking these different tips and bringing them into your daily life. Make it a part of your life. If your body feels like it needs to do some points and flexes, do that. Don't get so diligent of like, I have to do this exercise every day. Listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you whether it wants this one or points and flexes. Just start doing those natural things. That's like what cats do. You know, they wake up and they kind of stretch and they do these things. Start listening to your body. Your feet will start telling you that as you start doing this. Simplify and make it a part of your life. Any questions? Anything that wasn't clear? Anything of that sort I can answer for you? I do have, as I said, business cards up here. A couple of them are cut out because I didn't bring enough business cards. Okay. Oh, one of the other ones. There's a YouTube channel. It's called Pilates. I think it's under my YouTube channel is Mindful Movement LLC. It is under Pilates foot exercises. There's also one that says more Pilates foot exercises. There's 3 different ones out there.